Consider this cartoon, published on November 6th, not in just any outlet, but by an award-winning cartoonist in the Washington Post. In the cartoon, a Palestinian Muslim is depicted in a derogatory manner, with exaggerated features like a fat nose and ugly eyes. His coat is labeled Hamas, and he is shown using 4 children and a woman in a burqa as human shields. This imagery is potent and could significantly influence perceptions in America. Despite this depiction, the Israeli military has yet to provide conclusive evidence that Hamas is systematically using human shields. On the other hand, there are documented instances where Israeli actions have resulted in the deaths of premature babies. However, Western cartoonists like Michael Ramirez seem to disregard these facts in their work. Their cartoons are designed to popularize a specific narrative, portraying Palestinians as animals and as using human shields. Such portrayals implicitly suggest that these people, being capable of killing children, they have no right to live. Disinformation is not merely about falsehoods. It's about crafting a negative image of a society to facilitate their expulsion. The ultimate aim of such disinformation is to justify acts of genocide, ensuring that the injustices spanning 40-45 years are obscured. This strategy aims to desensitize the world to the suffering and deaths of Palestinians, portraying their destruction as a necessary act of self-defense. In recent days, the flow of news from Israel and Gaza has intensified, attracting global attention. It is getting more difficult to find out the truth. Reports of 40 children being decapitated are circulating. There are allegations of systematic abuse against women. Claims have been made about Hamas operating an extensive network of tunnels beneath hospitals. Accusations suggest that Hamas is conducting attacks as part of a global jihad conspiracy. Contradictory information is also emerging, with some sources claiming that the reports of Palestinian casualties are exaggerated, that the children are unharmed, and the distressing images being circulated are fabricated. War is not fought with missiles, guns, and swords. It is fought with ideology, thought, and narrative. This has always been the practice, be it World War or Cold War. The information warfare has been upgraded with modern communication tech and has become more important than before. It won't work with just missiles. It is very important to know who is winning and who is losing. The 7th of October, the Hamas attack was a heart-wrenching event, but the most global outrage and media coverage was definitely on one incident, the incident where Hamas allegedly beheaded 40 small children. The mainstream media covered this report on the front page. US President Biden expressed his disappointment. We now understand that previous reports were unverified. An Israeli soldier's statement was hastily reported as fact without the essential journalistic step of cross-verification. Today, such unverified information may still linger in your mind. But consider the possibility of this news also being incorrect. You might wonder about the impact of such errors. The fact is that Hamas did an attack. Hamas killed more than 1,000 people. Now, if that number is 1,200 or 1,400, what difference does it make? I raise these points because discussing them might lead to accusations of anti-Semitism. Raising even a few questions can lead to boycotts or attacks, potentially costing you your job. Yet, in today's discussion, it's crucial to analyze who controls the narrative in the Israel-Palestine conflict. The world's perception, influenced not by bombs, but by narratives, will shape the conflict's outcome. Both Israelis and Palestinians strive to sway global opinion. Palestine feeling abandoned by Arab nations and the UN. Israel and Palestine employ different tactics in this narrative war, each aiming to convince the world of their truth. Before we proceed, let's acknowledge the complex landscape of disinformation and conspiracies that influence our understanding of global events. In March 2003, America invaded Iraq, under the claim that Iraq possessed nuclear weapons and weapons of mass destruction.
My colleagues, every statement I make today is backed up by sources, solid sources. These are not assertions. What we're giving you are facts and conclusions based on solid intelligence.
To authorize the use of United States armed forces against Iraq.
We say, yes, Mr. President, you have that power to go to war.
Saddam Hussein and his sons must leave Iraq within 48 hours.
Went off in Baghdad just a few minutes ago. An air raid is in progress over Baghdad.
Explosions in Baghdad.
In the early stages of military operations.
This conflict resulted in the tragic loss of approximately 200,000 Iraqi lives, a sobering figure that underscores the gravity of the conflict, especially given that the alleged weapons of mass destruction were never found. Similarly, a recent claim by Israel stated that beneath Gaza's Al-Shifa hospital lay a command and control center. Following this, the hospital was bombed, resulting in a catastrophic loss of essential services like electricity and water. Yet, the existence of the claimed command center remains unverified. Tragically, this event led to the loss of all patients in the ICU and the deaths of numerous premature babies. Despite these outcomes, accountability and apologies are still pending. The bombing has left Gaza City in ruins. US-made fighter jets and bombs were employed. intertwining with an information war designed to obscure the harsh realities of such actions. In this context, even voicing support for a ceasefire could lead to severe repercussions, including job loss or the termination of academic careers, especially in countries like the United States. This is particularly ironic, given that America is known as the land of the free and the home of the brave, where freedom of speech is constitutionally guaranteed. Yet, how has this narrative come to dominate? Disinformation is not just the spreading of fake news by a few individuals on social media platforms like WhatsApp. It's a carefully orchestrated strategy employed to manipulate public perception and control the narrative. Whoever controls the narrative essentially controls the perceived facts. In such scenarios, the consequences can be dire, potentially leading to the decimation of entire civilizations or the occurrence of genocides without the wider world recognizing or intervening against such atrocities. People may even refuse to believe in the existence of such massacres because the narrative has been so tightly controlled and manipulated. It's crucial to note that this issue isn't confined to the Israel-Palestine conflict. Throughout the world, we see this pattern repeating, where control over the narrative shapes our understanding and response to global events. The goals of disinformation are multifaceted. First, it aims to discredit the target, creating a scenario where even their legitimate claims are doubted. Second, disinformation seeks to dehistoricize its target, focusing only on a single incident while ignoring the broader historical context, thereby portraying themselves as the sole victims. The third, and perhaps most insidious aim, is to dehumanize the opponent, reducing them to less than human in the public eye, thereby nullifying the relevance of human rights in this context. This tactic is not new. It echoes the strategies used by historical figures like Hitler against the Jews during the World War II era. Interestingly, similar tactics are now being observed in the treatment of Palestinians. I will delve into this with concrete facts, figures, and historical context. Firstly, consider the persistent efforts to discredit Palestinians. Post the October 7th attack, Hamas was not only labeled a terror organization, but was equated with ISIS, despite no proven connection between the two. Even the Prime Minister promised that what happened to ISIS will be done to Hamas. This comparison serves to malign Hamas's image, reducing the complexity of the conflict to a black and white narrative. In this narrative, if Hamas is perceived similarly to ISIS, known for extreme acts like beheadings and mistreatment of women, their legitimacy is instantly undermined. Israeli army has said that Hamas eats people's hearts. They put children in ovens and cook them. They have killed old people. That is why the reporter who broke the story did not cross-check. And even Biden, the president, did not confirm this before making it public, because he must have thought that they are ISIS. But these claims are proving to be false. On October 7th, confusion led to the Israeli military inadvertently causing harm to its citizens. Tuval Iskapa, the security coordinator of Be'eri village, discussed in a Haaretz interview the challenging decisions faced by Israeli commandos, including bombing houses in villages, which resulted in both terrorist and civilian casualties. This revelation presents a stark contrast to Israel's historical approach to hostage situations. Additionally, Israeli civilian Yasmin Porat reported that Israeli special forces mistakenly attacked during the clashes, leading to further casualties. Despite the gravity of these incidents, their coverage in the media has been limited. After the story about 40 children was proven wrong, almost no media outlet, not even the smaller ones, published a correction. Contrarily, it now appears that Israel is monitoring worldwide media coverage, attempting to directly influence what is published. When the reputed magazine Frontline published a cover story titled "Genocide in Gaza," Israeli ambassadors reacted furiously. This might be the first instance where an official complaint could be filed, but the Israeli establishment, specifically the ambassadors, are directly threatening the media house. The Israeli military claims that Hamas builds tunnels under hospitals and schools. In contrast, Hamas denies these allegations. Israeli officials have presented items like a water tank or a bunker as supposed evidence. Yet, the Western media still seems to accept Israel's narrative that Hamas has a command center under the hospital. While the command center wasn't found, there is evidence that Israeli actions resulted in the deaths of premature babies. In one instance, a paper with names was found on the wall of Al-Shifa hospital. The Israeli military presented this as a list of Hamas terrorists, resembling an attendance sheet. However, it was later revealed that this was actually a calendar, with days of the week written in Arabic. But it is Arabic. Could be terrorism. The initial misunderstanding of this document highlights the challenges in accurately interpreting and reporting in such complex situations. Point number 2. The UN Secretary General stated on October 24th that the attack on Hamas on October 7th must be understood in the context of Israel's occupation and the ongoing atrocities that have persisted for 56 years. However, if one begins to question this narrative, to assert that Palestinians should have the right to return and freedom, they encounter opposition. This is where the tactic of disinformation becomes crucial for Israel. The strategy involves overshadowing the 500-year history and emphasizing the claim that thousands of years ago, the land was inhabited by Jews, thereby justifying the belief that only Jews have the rightful claim to live there now. This narrative often disregards the fact that Muslims and Christians have also lived in Palestine for centuries. The history of Jews from Europe displacing Muslims and Christians from the region is often overshadowed in this narrative. Thus, disinformation is used to craft a version of history that denies the rights of Arabs who have lived there for thousands of years, effectively erasing their claim to the land. The third and most perilous aspect of disinformation is the effort to discard the humanity of a group, labeling them as subhuman or akin to animals.
אין חשמל, אין מזון, אין מים, אין דלק. הכל סגור. אנחנו נלחמים בחיות אדם ואנחנו נוהגים בהתאם. נלחמים בחיות אדם. עזה לא תחזור להיות מה שהייתה וחמאס לא יהיה. חסל את הכל.
אסור להם לחיות לחיות האלה.
This dehumanization makes it easier to commit acts of violence without public outrage or repercussions. There are various facets to this phenomenon. Firstly, the Israeli government has, for years, enforced an apartheid-like system, leading many Israelis to not regard Palestinians as fellow human beings. This perspective has manifested in the habitual abuse of Palestinians, infringement of their rights, and unconsented entry into their homes, often without intervention or opposition from the government. In this system, Palestinians are viewed not as humans, but as lesser beings. It's important to note that no society commits acts of genocide accidentally. Such atrocities require extensive groundwork and effort, including years of inundating the populace with disinformation and propaganda, spreading deeply ingrained biases and hatred. This process is reminiscent of the strategy used by Hitler to dehumanize Jews prior to the Holocaust, where dehumanization was a precursor to extermination. In the future, such narratives may even frame these actions as liberating the Palestinians. A secondary objective of disinformation is to garner Western support for these actions. When countries like the US, UK, France, and Germany sell weapons to Israel, narratives are constructed to justify these transactions. These narratives emphasize democracy and human rights, posing a challenge. How can champions of these values support genocide? To maintain this image of democracy, controlling the narrative becomes crucial. Challenging this narrative risks being labeled anti-Jewish. In the current climate, even advocating for a humanitarian ceasefire can be construed as opposition to this narrative, potentially leading to significant personal and professional consequences. However, this tactic is not new. It's a continuation of an age-old system of information warfare involving discrediting, dehumanizing, and attacking dissenters. This pattern is evident in historical contexts. Consider apartheid South Africa, where black South Africans were dehumanized for decades. In France, observe the treatment of Algerians. In America, the actions in Vietnam. And in the UK, the portrayal of Irish freedom fighters. Each case involved creating narratives, stereotypes, and spreading disinformation. This strategy is an old colonial game. Recognizing and understanding this pattern is crucial in our current times. In 1937, during the Arab revolt in Palestine, there was a call to halt Jewish immigration from Europe, which Winston Churchill opposed, advocating instead for colonization. Churchill is quoted as saying, "I don't admit that a great wrong has been done to the Red Indians, black people of Australia. Nothing wrong has happened. A higher grade race has come in and taken its place." He also reportedly referred to some groups as animals and likened their religions to that of animals. Additionally, Churchill is often criticized for his role in a famine that resulted in the death of 2.5 million people, an event regarded by some as man-made. Despite these actions, Churchill is widely celebrated as a hero, contrasting with the vilification of figures like Hitler who committed similar acts. The situation in Palestine is complex, with accusations of Palestinians creating fake videos. However, some of these accusations have been proven false. The Palestinian narrative is so harrowing that it might not need fabrication to evoke empathy. This video aims to encourage viewers to critically evaluate what they consume on social media, questioning the narratives, truths, and agendas presented. This is the 7th episode focusing on the Palestinian issue, encouraging viewers to support the channel for its in-depth coverage, distinct from mainstream media narratives. Many thanks for watching. More episodes coming up. Through the lens of history, policy, and human endurance, we seek to explore the underpinnings of a crisis that reflects broader challenges in the international arena, offering a glimpse into the dynamics of power, alliance, and the indomitable spirit of humanity in the face of adversity. Subscribe, share your thoughts, and stay tuned as we delve deeper into the unseen realms of global politics, one story at a time. Together, let's aim for a world where voices of change resonate louder than the echoes of the past.